Hey, what's up, La Familia? You crazy football-loving nutters. This is Ray Hudson, and you are luxuriating in listening to the Inter Miami podcast with the stupefyingly magnificent Jay and Alex. Two lads who are as electrifying as a hairdryer thrown into a hot tub. Stay tuned, because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be magisterial with an amplifier.
Well, I mean, wasn't going to last forever, I guess. We just you gotta remember week 2. Remember the end of week 2 and how great it felt to be number 1 in the East and finally get the respect we were due, even though ESPN hates us.
I mean, we didn't really get the respect, but I like your positivity, especially in an episode like this. I love the positivity.
You got to be positive, man. It's been a tough week, but we're gonna bring the fans so much enjoyment this episode. Just wait. Welcome everyone to the Inter Miami podcast. I am Jay Kington alongside Mr. Than Harrington, as always, fresh back from the BX. I think that's what the young kids call the Bronx. Going abroad to watch the boys play against NYC FC. Say what you want about the game. Didn't really go our way, but you brought Riley, brought the son up there. Try to give him some culture of the Big Apple. Hopefully didn't get into any trouble here. Too harsh of language. How was everything up there?
The language was definitely on par with some of the worst, so he got that culture shock. At one point, I swear to God, he turned to me, he goes, "Dad, I've been to big cities, and, I like Miami. I don't like this. I don't like this at all." We saw a car fire. We saw a car accident right outside our hotel, and a bunch of people screaming and swinging on each other. So I said, "Welcome to New York, buddy."
A car fire?
Yeah, an absolute car fire. Like, it looked like the engine overheated and the entire front end was literally on fire. I thought it was Mad Max.
Jesus.
It was,
and just people throwing hands in front of a bodega.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is New York in a nutshell.
They must not have got their food the Aki way. So
never.
Bing bong.
Oh, great. Well, outside of the beautiful scenery that New York City has to offer, how was the game experience, man? I know there were some people that were warning you about how, I guess, rough it can be for a traveling fan going into the historic Yankees Stadium to watch a game of footy on the field, probably the same size as the futsal field or whatever you want to call that Riley played on earlier that morning.
Yeah, no, definitely same size as the futsal field. I will say, getting into the game, get there early. The queue was longer than a line at Disney World. It was awful, and we had shown up. I think by the time our Uber driver dropped us off, it was 7:15, and we made it in. Thank God, it was a 7-minute later start time. It was around 7:37. We made it in right at 7:30. The fans, while we were standing out there, were great. They all saw we had our Miami gear on. No one really gave us any shit. One of the guys was talking to us because he didn't know much about our club, our history, the players who we had, who we didn't have. And then once we got into the stadium, I just kind of asserted my dominance in the 32-degree weather, stripped down to a t-shirt and just sat there, and nobody said anything to me. So unfortunately, we happened to be in a row of all Inter Miami fans too, which helped, but the guys behind us were definitely hardcore NYCFC.
Yeah, well, that's good. And, we are a audio media format here, so if you've been a listener, you probably know Than's voice, but if you haven't seen Than in person, he is an absolute unit in every sense of the word. The man seems like he's 6'5", a mean 250, 275. I feel like I'm way off on my weight. I'm way off on my weight,
I've
dog.
not been 250 since high school. It's the lean 345.
Oh, I was way off, bro. My weight to reality expectations are very low. Power lifter. I mean, you would have to be an absolute idiot to want to start any stuff with you, bro. You don't even punch. You just slap them bear paws around and cripple people, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
In a past life, he's now a loving father, a productive member of society. Okay.
I don't know how productive, but I appreciate the praise there, sir. But getting back to it, so I paid for seats right behind the bench. I thought I would be in a better position than where I was. So if you're looking at the field from the bench, I had a clear view of the goal in the second half where Drake was.
Mm-hmm.
In the first half, I could not see what would be, I guess, my close corner. You could see like the upper half of some of the players. Like if Coco was over there, you couldn't see him at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just had to hope and pray to see what was going on. The angles of the stadium itself, you could never really tell where the ball was going. You thought somebody was in on a breakaway, and all of a sudden the defender's like 5 steps in front of him with the ball, and you're kind of wondering what was going on.
Because it's like a very low line of sight, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you can't really see.
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you ever watched a baseball game at Yankee Stadium and you're looking out from the batter's box, we were sitting in where the right pole would be for a normal Yankees baseball game. We were probably just a couple seats in from there. So it was very awkward. I will say I'll give NYCFC some credit. Their goal, I don't know, goal icon, I guess, whenever they score a goal or somebody else scores for them, the white smoke billows up from the 5 smokestacks they have out in far left field. That was pretty cool. What wasn't cool was 10 seconds into the game, the "Fuck Miami" chant started pretty loud and proud. So, and then when David Beckham appeared out over top of La Familia, they got really rowdy. So,
in a disrespectful way, or it's David Beckham. That's a demigod.
It was a New York welcome. There was some line of respect, but a lot of it was a bunch of middle fingers and cursing out his name and his family and whoever. So
such a great place to raise a family.
Yeah, I will tell you, it was a good experience. I'm happy to have gone. I will not go back. It's just not worth it. If I'm going that far, I'm just going to go to Red Bull Arena.
Yeah.
Beautiful stadium. But yeah, I mean, all in all, we had a great time. We got out. We got to experience a little bit of New York, and wish it would have been with a win, but is what it is.
It is what it is, brother. And well, you had a better time than the team, I'd say, than the boys out there. It was
So I knew we were in trouble when I looked down and I saw some of the players. I think it was Ari and even Harvey. He had his hood up.
Yeah.
So you could only see the slits of his eyes, the balaclava up. And I thought back to what we said last episode. I was like, the weather's going to play an effect on this game.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to have a part to play. And even Phil was walking around huddling up like this. I'm like, yo, you've played in Manchester. How are you this cold?
Yeah,
right
like, so he'd be the one more accustomed to it. Like, I guess McVay would because he's Swedish, or Robbie Taylor being from Finland, or you know, Kritsov being from Ukraine, but like the rest of the boys are from like it's countries around the equator. And it was before kickoff, and they showed the bench, dude. And I've never seen Noah Allen with like his like I don't know what it was. It's not a balaclava, but like some like neck protection, like all the way up to his eyes, and they all looked miserable.
So to be fair, it was Robbie Taylor, Ryan Saylor, because don't forget he went to Washington, so same temperature. Harvey tried, and then he came back over to warm up with a full get up on. And then Bryce, he warmed up pretty much in a full parka. Like, I mean, there's not much fat on those bones, so he was pretty cold pretty quick.
It looked pretty miserable out there, man.
And then there's me in a t-shirt.
Yeah, but you're used to it. You know, like I used to be able to handle like that cold weather when I was living up north a bit, but like, no, not anymore, bro. Your blood thins out. That wind cuts through your bones, and that atmosphere just looked horrible. And the game was starting, and they're showing the field, and I'm like, every time I see this pitch, I hate it more and more. Like, I hate that the MLS allows this. It's just so stupid. It is so small, and it's such an advantage to them because they're used to it. It's just, It's horrible. And the game was just ugly as could be on both sides. I mean, absolutely. Started to get pretty chippy. I mean, we I know we started out the gate slow in the race for the most yellow cards, but it definitely came up, pretty early. I mean, Negri got a yellow card in minute 6, and then it just started getting chippier and chippier. And then, high level view. Like we got some good news coming very, very soon. Just hang on for a few minutes. We're not gonna make anyone feel any worse than this, right? The whole team played like absolute crap except for Drake Callender. They left him exposed, and he was just an absolute wall again. We did lose, right? Own goal on Chris McVay, 36 minute. And out of everybody, I got to say, like, I really wasn't expecting it from McVay. He's always seemed to be kind of the most balanced and just steady defending option that we've had. Goes for a clearance, man, just does not connect with it. Just rolls basically the ball across his foot, goes to the right side of Drake, and 1-0. And it hurt, buddy. It hurt. But there is solace that, spoiler alert, the game finished 1-0. Should have been a draw, right, without that mistake. But there is some solace in the fact that no opponent has scored on Drake Callender, and so I forgot who it was, Spazzy. It's like, no one makes me bleed my own blood. No opponent has scored on this yet. So that is very good. But this is just an ugly, gives you flashbacks to Inter Miami mistakes of the past, man. And maybe everyone was riding a little too high after those first 2 weeks, and maybe, needed to be pulled back and reminded. And I mean, then it just went on. I mean, we're talking each team had 4 yellow cards. Negri, Mota, Yedlin, Kritsov. It just started to get really scrappy. Then for NYCFC, Kufre, Elenik, Pellegrini, and Gray. And we'll get into this. So outside of everyone playing like doo-doo, and, we were talking earlier, everyone wanted to crush Pizarro because they've been wanting to crush Pizarro since it announced that he was going to play this season, right? Go ahead.
I don't think I hate how he played as much as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw him move when he's making runs. He was making the flicks. He had some beautiful flicks in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Had beautiful link-up play. And I don't want to get too far ahead of the conversation. I know we're just trying to keep this brief because we've all been through the pain enough. It is what it is. But I'm going to revert back to what I said prior, and I said it could be an issue. We cannot play Campana ball with Joseph Martinez.
Agreed.
Every time we are trying to lob the ball up the field, Sands is towering over Martinez. Martinez tries to jump. Good for him. He's not getting that ball.
Mm-hmm.
And what did we do? Did we change our plan of attack? Nope. We just went and went and went and went. It's like it's the definition of madness. It's just beating your head off the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result, and it just didn't do anything.
This is the way. And for a second, everyone thought Joseph bagged his first goal, which wasn't even that pretty of a goal. I mean, kicked it really right at the goalkeeper in between his legs, but I doubt he was trying to do that. He's probably just blasting it. So, but called offside. So I'm not completely sold on him. We do need Campana to get back. Everyone's hoping for the best. I think it's one of those situations where you pop that cherry, you get that first goal, and boom, more will come in. But midfield absolutely got dominated in this one, man. And everyone played bad, like I said, but Pizarro's going to catch that flack because everyone was upset that he was coming back, even though the first 2 weeks he was spectacular. Last week he was named to team of the week, but God forbid the whole team has a bad game and they're all going to go and blame him, while he still did have some good some amazing through balls, honestly, and very shifty, but maybe should have released the ball a little earlier, had some errant passes, but there were a few pretty bad passes all around. And what really stuck out to me, especially in the second half, was we were just back to that season 1, just kicking long balls, no real aim or purpose to them, just, get it out, clear it out, or hope for a miracle and hope someone can get to the end of it and connect. And we had some chances. We did have some chances. We'll run through the stats here, and just nothing was working, man. It's We don't play well when we're away. We don't play well in black jerseys. And I'm not a superstitious sports guy thinking that jersey color really attributes to anything. But on the debut of La Noche, it was certainly one to forget.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am going to walk you back on your saying that we had chances because statistically, and this is the telltale sign, we had 0 chances created. 0 chances based off of MLS's stats, how they pool everything together. So
the XG was terrible, but in terms of we did have three shots on goal that were all pretty bad.
Yeah, no, and as you and I said before, Negri, I thought he was going to connect, but I don't know. Maybe it was the wind whipping how it was inside the stadium because I noticed the wind was changing directions constantly inside that stadium, and maybe he just didn't connect or the ball changed direction in the air. I don't know, but it was bad.
Yeah,
you cannot rely on your left back to be your main source of firepower in the middle. And I'm once again going to bag on him. Mota needs to just take it in a little bit. Just take it in a touch and get a shot off. We did not need long balls from him.
I agree. And, we came out in the same formation. And you're right. It's just not working. Trying to get Joseph the ball. I just don't think it fits that scheme necessarily. And then I guess before we get into the statistics, of course, the one that upset a lot of people that Phil said would probably require a formational change is the Mateus Pellegrini tackle from behind on Gregory, which the camera showed him. He was crying, and it's not crying. He's not crying. He's a grown man. He's not crying because his leg hurts or there's a shooting pain. He's crying because he knows he's about to miss significant time, and he knows what that means for his season. And then you shared pictures. He walked off the field on his own accord, but then you shared pictures getting stretched off. Not like in a stretcher you were going to put in the back of an ambulance, right? Looked very, very distraught. And a lot of people, think it was a dirty play. You could argue that for sure. I think the universe works in a secular motion, whatever the term is. And I think Pellegrini finally got his revenge on the club that screwed him over pretty bad. So, you get what you put out there in the universe. We'll see exactly how bad, what the extent of the Gregory tackle is. Pellegrini has not had the fondest of words about his experiences with Inter Miami. I'm not going to say he went out of his way to be dirty and take someone out to get his revenge, but it's funny how things work out like that,
Oh, I will. I'll go out there and say it right now. So it happened pretty much right within our line of sight. The way he hunted him down, and you could see, now I couldn't obviously see his face, but you could tell there was some ill wish and bad intention in that tackle. I was shocked that it didn't get reviewed to go for a red because we've seen that in other games in other leagues. That is a red card offense. I was upset because you could see that when they were trying to bring him over to the bench, you could tell the team intensity dropped. You could tell the team morale dropped. You could tell that he knew he was done. As I shared, trying to be respectful about it, but taking pictures so you guys had updates before, the camera, the media got over to it. He tried to stand up from. Gregory tried to stand up against like the coolers, and as soon as he tried to stand up, like he got 25% of the way up and then collapsed right back down. And I said, nope, that's not good. That's not good.
Gotta be structural.
So, yeah, I'm wishing the best for him. I know he didn't play his best game, but that was our bulldog, as I've been calling him for 3 years. Like, that's our bulldog, dude. He was out there killing it.
Yeah, and Gregory he looked really slow out there on the night as well. People were running past him. He didn't look to be having a good night, and that just kind of capped off a horrible night. And if I'm not, there was one other, like not too long past that one, very similar, coming from behind, looked a little less dirty. I want to say it was on Mota, but can't recall.
So that was actually before, because that was around the 61st minute. Mota got taken down. The ball went up the middle of the field out to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez shot it. at Drake rather than going far post, and Drake stretched out wide to get that save with his left hand. So
two
yeah.
sketchy tackles from
And
behind, which was rough to see for sure. And the ref was just
yeah.
seemed to I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, man, but these refs seem like they hate us because they were calling any little tap we make on NYCFC, and then we were getting knocked around, and it's fine, business as usual, no worries.
Yeah, but I mean, as an old ball coach once told me, you can't rely on the referees away to win the game for
Exactly.
you. You have to go out there and play your game, and we didn't. But enough of the negative. I got to talk about the positive. Drake, oh my God, some of his saves were ridiculous. I actually hit him up after the game about the one save. I think it was late in the first half, where he just dove out of his mind. Like he was shifted right and then he hopped all the way back across left. And I said, yo, that was absolutely wild. He goes, yeah, I know, right? That was absolutely wild. I couldn't believe it. So, as a goalkeeper, when you can't believe your own save, like
it's just like reactions, right? It's just reactions and instincts. And then you're like, damn, did I just do that? Yeah.
Well, and then I'm sitting there and I hear, holy shit. And I'm looking around trying to see who said that. And then Riley's looking at me with his hands over his mouth. And I'm like, well.
You gotta let it slide. You gotta let it slide.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
but,
Drake was really the I think the one that stood out. Now, Robbie Taylor, Bryce Duke came on. They look good. Look to make an impact. Just wasn't enough, man. And I don't think Robbie's back to full fitness, but he might have to be thrown into the starting lineup or Bryce because, like I said, Phil said there's going to probably be a formational change. I mean, it was the exact same lineup we've been playing with for the first two games, and there's going to have to be a change to be made. That 4-2, 3-1, and I'm very curious to see exactly where the changes are going to be made. What is Phil going to do? I would have to assume Mota probably comes back to play that anchor role, and you put maybe Bryce or Robbie up in place of where Greg would be. That would be my guess, or complete different formation, right?
My open question to you would be, as much as I liked seeing him, especially in the first game and kind of in the second game, do we look at possibly getting Bryce in there for Stefanelli? Because Stefanelli was not trying to be mean. He's new, but he was definitely dead weight out there yesterday. Bryce came on and it was, I don't know. It was like someone poured gasoline in a Tonka truck. Like there was a little body just right through the defense.
That's what he does.
And Stefanelli just looked lost.
Yeah.
And even when he got subbed out, and he went to the far end and he walked down behind goal and then came around by us and his head was down. He was dragging his feet like he was defeated. And I'm not sure, like, not to try to read too much into it because it was in a bad part of the game, but I don't know. Hopefully the move is not starting to be an issue for him. I know it sounds ridiculous to say that, but the way he carries himself has been.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a very important factor. That's a fair point. Just statistics real quick. Possession-wise, Inter Miami first, as always, and then our opponent. So 57% possession to Inter Miami. Only 43 to NYCFC. Shots, we had 6. They had 13. We had 3 on goal. They had 7. Passing accuracy, 79% Inter Miami. 81% NYCFC. Each team had 2 corners. Fouls, again, got a little chippy. 15 fouls for Inter Miami, 12 for NYCFC, and 4 yellow cards for both teams. No red cards. But, yeah, I wouldn't be a – go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, and 1 offside, which would have tied the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at the time, put us in the lead, but still, regardless.
With Josef. And, it's still very early in the season. Again, let's remind ourselves that let's just be happy we won our first 2 games. Right? We started off strong, put ourselves in a good position. We'll get to, standings and all that stuff here shortly. But, yeah, back to your point. I think at some point Bryce will have to take on a bigger role. I think Robbie will come back healthy. And, there was a breakaway shortly after Bryce came on, and he has speed, and he was coming up there kind of to the right corner of the 18-yard box, and I thought he was going to rip it. I really did. I thought but he ended up pulling it back. But I thought he was going to rip it. And I was like, you know what, bud? If Bryce Duke scores, how great would that be for our interview?
What interview?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We forgot about that. Let's go ahead and jump into this interview that we did with Bryce Duke a couple days before the game, shall we?
Let's do it, dude.
Oh, let's give it to him. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Enter Miami podcast. I am Jay Kington, alongside, as always, Mr. Than Harrington. We are very, very excited to be joined by a special guest we know the fans are going to absolutely adore. It's none other than the Duke of Las Olas, Mr. Bryce Duke himself. Bryce, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I cannot complain. Than, how are you?
I am well. I can't complain either. I'm excited to finally be able to sit down with you, Bryce. I know we've been working at this for a little bit, and thank you to the organization for connecting us and allowing us to interview you today.
All right, well, let's get right into it, Bryce. Tell us what it was like growing up in Arizona. You know, the young Bryce Duke coming up in the world.
To be honest, Arizona is a very boring place. Not I'm not gonna beat around the bush, but not much to do. But growing up basically consists of soccer tournaments, soccer games. But before I started soccer, I used to do BMX biking, so I used to race bicycles. And so I did that from, I think, age 3 to about 7. And then I kind of wanted to starting up soccer again. And then decided to do soccer, and then kind of the love for the game kind of just grew from there. So been playing soccer since I was about 7 years old. But other than that, kind of just took family trips. Every summer, went to grandparents' little place in Newport Beach, California. So that was kind of like our getaway vacation as a family. We used to go up north to a place called Happy Jack, where we kind of did like off-roading kind of type stuff in the woods. And then we went to a place called the Sand Dunes out in California as well. We call it Glamis, and used to do off-roading stuff as well. So that was kind of how my childhood was when I was younger.
Awesome. And you kind of came up in the Barcelona Residency Academy. What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. So when I was about 15, I was at RSL in Casa Grande for, I want to say, 3 months. And then they made the move over to Utah. And so I left home at about 15, 16. And so I lived in a dorm room with 40 other kids at RSL Academy in Utah. Stayed there my sophomore and junior year of high school, and then decided that nothing was going to really come out of it. So I had a unique opportunity to come back home. And so then I went back to Barca, or I went to Barca back in Casa Grande, and stayed in a hotel out there with the team. And Casa Grande is probably an hour and 15 minutes from where I live in Peoria, Arizona. So it was nice being able to have my parents come out to, let's just say, every single home game, and be able to go back on the weekends and see my family. And so, so I was there for, I want to say, 6 months, half of a season. And then my plan all along was to go to college. I was committed to Wake Forest. And then that season, things kind of started to open up. Had some opportunities to go overseas. Had an opportunity to go trial with Barca over there, and then I had LAFC, and so in the end, I decided that LAFC was going to be the best pathway for me, and so yeah, I went to LAFC, and then a couple years later, I'm here in Miami. So
Yeah, so talking about your LAFC time, what would you say was the most daunting part about making your MLS debut at such a young age? I mean, for most kids around 19, they're thinking about what's going on in the first year of college, not jumping out in front of a bunch of ravenous fans on a Major League Soccer pitch.
yeah, it was definitely a quick turnaround for me because I went from having the mentality of, oh, I'm going to college in 3 months to, okay, well, I just signed for a top MLS team, LAFC, who just won Supporter Shield, stuff like that. So I had a lot to prove in a short amount of time. And so went to LAFC. First day I got there, we had a preseason scrimmage, and I was just in the locker room, and basically everyone didn't know I signed because it hasn't been announced yet. So all the players are coming up to me thinking I'm a trialist and all of this stuff. And then right before the match, I get introduced as the newest part of the team. So that was a pretty cool moment for me, being able to be in a locker room filled with guys who have been around the league for a while. And then at the time we had Bob Bradley as a coach. So that was kind of surreal. And then a month after that, making my professional debut in Champions League against Leon in Mexico, which was also a crazy atmosphere with all the fans just playing in a different country for the first time. And then having that be my professional debut was something special. And then coming in a couple of weeks later, making my MLS debut, which just so happened to be against Inter Miami. And so it's kind of crazy how the world works, how I make my MLS debut against Inter Miami, and then I end up with Inter Miami. So it's kind of cool.
Definitely cool, for sure. What was it like? I mean, just coming into LA and you got players like Carlos Vela, who was on the cover of like FIFA, like 2011, Diego Rossi, Cifuentes. I mean, they had a pretty stacked roster. Was that like overwhelming at first, or was it just business as usual?
No, I mean, of course, Carlos Vela going in, I'm starstruck playing with a guy who's had such a great career and who's broken records and so much more. And then going to a team where there's a bunch of young guys who I might not have heard of before I got there, but then realizing how good some of these young guys from all these different countries really are. And then just witnessing that firsthand kind of put everything into perspective, where as a young kid, you sign at such a young age. To a certain extent, you're like, oh my gosh, like I signed at a young age, that means I must be really good. And then going to an environment where people are 5 to 10 years older than you and they're like so much better than you. So it kind of puts things in perspective on how hard you need to work and what point you need to get to. So I felt like it was good for my career to go to a team at such a top level with such top players that now I kind of have more of an understanding of what it takes to be one of those top players and to get to one of those top 5 leagues in Europe. And so, yeah, I kind of just took it as more of a learning experience rather than, I got there and I have to try and beat out all these good players and it's going to be so hard and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I mean, that would be, I mean, I think it would be daunting for anybody. I know myself, if, my son signed and he ended up in a locker room full of superstars, I know it would be a little it'll be a little difficult for him there. Great insight on that, Bryce. What would you say then would be the biggest adjustment for you when you moved from LAFC to Inter Miami? Obviously, a fledgling program, just getting up and running in the MLS.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference would probably just be obviously change of location. So you're now in an environment where I came here and I don't really know anybody. Where before, let's say when I was in Utah, when I was younger, I knew kids from back home that moved with me. When I was in LA, I had friends that lived there, and now coming to Florida, at the beginning, I have nobody. Luckily, I've made a lot of friends with the team, and then I have family friends that have moved here since. So that was a big culture shock, I guess, just finding new things to do and actually having to live on your own and not just call one of your friends and in 5 minutes he's there to hang out with you or something like that. So probably adjusting to meeting new people, and then also probably just like the style of play and like different coaches and different players and stuff like that, and just getting to know people or your teammates on the field and what their tendencies are and stuff like that. So that goes with just any team that you go to. One team's going to play a different way than the other. Or one team's going to play a certain formation, and the other team might not play the same formation. So just small things like that you have to get used to as well.
It's always a tough adjustment. I'm a transplant to Florida as well. Also from a state many people would probably say is boring as well. But 63rd minute versus Atlanta saw you bag your first professional goal after a beautiful combo play between you, Arya, and Leo in front of the North stands, which was probably even better. But what was going through your head as you got that pass from Leo?
Don't miss, because I've seen a lot of videos and stuff like that of people missing tap-ins, and so when that ball came across, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna seem so easy, but like just put it in the back of the net. Don't just think it's already in and lose focus and stuff like that. So I was basically just focused on not missing, not
becoming an Instagram reel.
Exactly, in a terrible way rather than in a good way.
Yeah, you don't want to end up like Fernando Torres missing it wide open in front of everybody at Old Trafford. That's one that sticks in my head often. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that.
Okay, this is the Inter Miami podcast, guys.
Yeah.
We're not crushing Chelsea right now, okay?
So anyways, 2022 saw the team make the playoffs, Bryce. It's first time in their history minus the play-in round. What lessons will you and the team take away from the NYCFC match who you guys are playing this upcoming weekend, and how are you going to implement that for the remainder of the new season?
Yeah, hopefully we just take this match as we did the first two matches of the season against Montreal and Philadelphia, where we know they're a good team and we know they had a good season last year, and we just can't go in thinking we already have a win or whatever the case may be. And so it's kind of good in a way to play the top three teams from last year straight off the bat of the season, because it truly tests what our team can do. And so far in the season, I mean, I feel like we've done pretty well with results and having to deal with certain situations during the game, and then just gelling with the team, because I know we have some new players. But I feel like so far this season, I feel like we have a really good squad and we can do something really special this year.
We agree, and we hope so. We love it. I mean, it's so great to see everything start so well. And if a lot of people down here have kind of weathered through the previous 3 years, so this is the reward. And I mean, it just feels so great, and we're just so happy all around, all of La Familia, the entire community and fan base. but you actually were able to spend the offseason training with Atletico Madrid. How did that opportunity come about? And then, what was it like? Was there anything really unique that you took away from that?
Yeah, it was definitely a cool experience. Being able to go over there and train with a team like that definitely puts things in perspective and definitely shows you the difference in level between here and over there. And so that was the goal going over there, is just learning what it takes to get over there, and then also just as simple as going into this preseason fit. So spending a couple of weeks over there just training, and then getting my fitness in and staying sharp so I can come into the season 100% and ready to go. And then also just growing as a player and learning from guys like over there. So yeah, overall it was a good experience, and I'm glad I got to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody would really want to, take that opportunity to grow, especially in the off season. You have an opportunity to train with one of the more recognizable teams in the world. That's definitely an awesome experience, and it's definitely starting to show in your play as well as of late. But let's step away from the field, sir. What do you like to do away from the pitch? I mean, obviously you're not BMXing anymore, as you previously alluded to, I don't think. But what is your?
I don't think
what do
Phil
you
would
like to
like that.
do? No, Phil does not like Dave Mira out in the midfield. But like, what does your off season consist of? What do you like to do away from the pitch?
Off season, I played a lot of pickleball. And so I got into that, and there was a pickleball court right next to where we live in Arizona. And so me and my brother and hometown friends, we would go there all the time. Whether it's that court or whether we go to a nearby gym that has a court. So we played a lot of pickleball. What else? I just started off days now, or what I do the rest of the day now after training. I just started Ted Lasso TV show. So everyone was talking about how good it was, and I felt like I was missing out. So I started Ted Lasso and love it. Such a sick show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny as well. So, and then other than that, I live in an area where I can go out and go for a walk, get a coffee, go grab dinner, stuff like that. So if I ever feel like I've been sitting down on the couch too long, or I've been in my apartment, I'll just go on a little walk, put my headphones in, listen to music along the river. So
not a bad way to live down here, I'll tell you what. It's crazy. Pickleball's like
yeah.
taking over the entire nation. Like my parents started talking
Right?
about it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the Olympics here soon.
It might be. A buddy of mine has like a high-level sales job, quit, and then turned pro just from playing like down here in Fort Lauderdale. It was wild. But
that's crazy.
Yeah. Who's the best FIFA player? Who's the best on the sticks in the Inter Miami locker room?
Definitely not me. I'm terrible at FIFA. Funny story. I only played FIFA when I was younger, and that's because I could beat my brother like 11-0. And so I was like, oh, I'm good at it. And then I started playing like my friends, and I was like, never mind, I'm terrible. And so I bought FIFA, I want to say, when I first turned pro again, and I just bought it because I wanted to play with myself, like play FIFA, using LAFC, using me. So did that, and I was terrible in the game. I was slow. For some reason, FIFA made me like 6'3" or something like that. So we won I was playing with LAFC at the time, and we won a tournament, and I was like at the end celebrating with the team, and for some reason the game had me like in the back, taller than everybody, and I was like, that just doesn't make sense at all.
Just crushing headers.
And so yeah, I was like, that's just not realistic. And so I just haven't really played since. But the best one on the team, I've heard top three, you have Noah Allen, you have Robbie Robinson, and you have I want to say Harvey Neville is up there as well, or Ian Frey. It's all the young guys.
It's the youth, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like FIFA just randomly generates like MLS stats. I don't think they know really what's going on, but
Yeah.
They just kind of throw a dart at the dartboard and hope it sticks. They're
Exactly.
not too in the know. But previously we've had Drake on, and he's talked about his pregame rituals, the Zen master himself. Who would you say has the craziest pregame rituals? Is there somebody who stands out that you just kind of look over and you're still maybe not quite used to, or you kind of just laugh at what they're doing?
I would say from what I've seen so far, he doesn't do anything like weird or crazy or out of the ordinary, but he has like DeAndre Desmond has a mat that has like a bunch of spikes on it, and he stands on the mat for like 2 minutes. And I've tried to stand on it, and it hurts so way too bad. And so I don't know how he does it, but he's got like a mat with spikes on it that he stands on every before every game.
He just tells you it's all mental. You can do it too.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, oh, it puts like blood flow to my feet and stuff like that. And I was like, there's got to be another way.
He's well traveled. I'm sure he picked that up at some little side shop when he was walking in some other country, you know.
Which I'm pretty sure Drake does it as well. So I'm pretty sure they both have one. DeAndre's just the only one that I've seen do it at like pregame.
That's funny. That's a good image.
I was gonna say that wouldn't surprise me. I could see Drake sitting there and then all of a sudden levitating above that spiked mat. But it's all just mental. You can all do it.
Exactly. Is there a side of Coach Neville that most people don't get to see, or maybe the public doesn't get to see?
To be honest, I feel like he's pretty like transparent in the way he is on or in interviews or while coaching than when he is like behind the scenes at the training field or whatever. I mean, he's obviously like serious at some point. He cracks a few jokes at some point. So I don't think there's a side that the fans haven't seen that we have seen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, most of us grew up watching David Beckham. He was tearing it up across Europe, obviously with United, PSG, Milan, the whole Madrid. I can't forget to mention Madrid. And then with the Galaxy. What was it like meeting him for the first time? Did he happen to give you any advice on your adjustment with the team or how to progress in the league?
So meeting him for the first time, it was cool because usually with a guy of his status or any person of his status, when you're well known like that, a lot of people, for example, like let's just say he was there and everyone comes up to him, or he just stands to the side and kind of waits for everyone to come up and say hi to him. He's the exact opposite. So he'll go up and kind of just act like he's one of the guys, go say hi to everyone, come up to you, say hi, how's it going, how's the family, stuff like that. So that was super cool to see from a guy that you kind of look up to when you were younger as a player, and just see how cool and actually genuine a guy like that is. And so the first time I met him, I was starstruck. I was like, holy, like that's David Beckham. Like, this is crazy. And then went up, shook his hand, and I obviously introduced myself like, oh, my name's Bryce. And it was funny because he was kind of like, basically, I know your name, stuff like that. And so it was just like an instinct of like introducing myself. And so basically just asked how I was, how I'm settling in, how's the family, stuff like that. Just something that everyone else would ask. So yeah, it was cool. And it's cool because he's one of the owners and he drops down and sees training. Like he was in for training today to watch us, say hi, stuff like that. Comes to the game. So he's very involved with the team, which is cool to see because you don't really see that much from that many owners of clubs. And that goes for Jorge and Jose Mas as well. They're very involved. So I feel like that's one thing as a team that we should be grateful for.
Fair enough. I like that answer actually. That's he seems like he is quite down to earth, even though he is almost like a god, walking around men. But just out of respect for your time, rather, we'll just go rapid fire through these last three questions we have for you. But who is one of the more promising up and coming players that the fan base might not know about yet, but that you see growing leaps and bounds?
I want to say, I think coming back from this knee injury, I think Noah Allen will be a really, really good, really fun player to keep an eye on.
That makes me glad that you said that because I've been watching Noah play through Inter Miami too in Fort Lauderdale FC. So that's pretty awesome. You said that. Bryce, who do you emulate your game after growing up? I mean, there must have been one or two players you really wanted to mold yourself after.
Yeah, so me and my dad's favorite player growing up was Andres Iniesta. So that's who I kind of grew up watching and kind of take bits and pieces of his game and try and put it into mine. So somebody who's just calm on the ball, enjoys playing, and is just effective. So if I had to choose any player, it would probably be him.
That he is, and that leads me to this last question, which I'm almost positive I already know the answer of. But do you have a European club that you supported growing up?
So we liked Barcelona because of the way they played. And so that's probably who we as a family or me in general liked watching the most. With Messi, with Iniesta, Xavi, Fabregas, Busquets, like all those guys. So that was probably the team that I followed growing up. And then as time grew on, I don't support like one specific team, but I like Pep Guardiola as a coach. Just because I like the way he played at Barcelona, and so when he went to Bayern Munich, I really liked how Bayern played, and then he's at City now, and I really like how City's playing. And then I also really like how Arsenal's playing this year because, I mean, they have Arteta as a coach, and Arteta was under Pep. So I basically just look for teams that I like playing or that I like the way they play. So, but yeah, Barcelona growing up was probably the team that I supported.
I can respect it, Bryce. I respect you for that, but I've got a lot of pain from Barca, City, and Arsenal as a United fan through and through.
Yeah,
so,
I think you just heard a lot of people, a lot of our fans who.
Yeah, it was funny because when we came in the other day, I didn't watch the United Liverpool game, and I didn't even hear about it. And then we came into training, and Harvey was like, someone said something to Harvey, and everyone started laughing. And I was like, what happened? And then Harvey was like, oh, like Manchester United lost 7-0. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they lost, like,
yeah.
And I was like, I heard it was like, then Victor was like, oh, last time I saw it was like 2-0 or 1-0 at halftime. And I was like, wow, 7-0. And so, yeah. And then we were all messing with Phil because obviously Phil's Manchester United. And so, yeah, but.
Savages. I love it. Well, Listen, Bryce, we really appreciate you making the time to swing by and chat with us for a bit. Per usual, you've got an Inter Miami podcast, Supremely Inter kit. If you would like it, just let us know, and we will coordinate that drop off to you. But cannot thank you enough. I think the fans will really love getting to know you, maybe except for that last bit about City, but we'll move forward, man. Really appreciate you coming through.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, I would love the kit if that's possible. That would be sick.
You got white, pink, and black. We'll let you pick.
All right, perfect. I'll let you know.
All right, my man. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, we certainly had fun speaking with Bryce, and hope everyone enjoyed that interview. Look to bring more coming this season. What were your thoughts, Stan? I know that was, behind the people don't see the behind the scenes, and that took quite a while to organize, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely worth the wait. Shout out to Mike Franca for getting that for us, helping us get that situated. Shout out to the club for allowing Bryce to come on and spend some time with us. Definitely interesting to hear about him growing up. I could totally see him being a BMXer, just out there doing tail whips in the out in the Arizona heat. But
we hope everyone enjoyed getting to know more about him than just drilling down typical journalist questions about the season down his throat.
Yeah, because who else is going to tell you about DeAndre Edlin's spiked mat of insanity for a pregame ritual, which I guess my wife knew about. She's like, oh, yeah, that's a big thing. I'm like, how did you know about this? And I didn't. So, I mean, I don't know, whatever.
It's that holistic approach.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? One more reason to keep listening to us here at the Inter Miami podcast. We drop these little gold nuggets in there for you every so often. So
got to bring the good,
tuned.
Especially I was so happy. I was not happy we lost, but I was happy that we at least had something good to bring the fans and the listeners, so that it wasn't just another sad episode.
Yeah, definitely helped ease the pain away. But Jay, talking about pain, why don't you tell us where we currently sit now in the Eastern Conference standings?
So where we currently sit, okay, and things to note is this could change with the game that's going to be kicking off at 10:30 tonight, which is the New England Revolution against LAFC. Should be a good game. Unfortunately, it's so late. I don't know how many people on the East Coast will be watching it, but shout out to all the New England people that are staying up mad late and then going into work a little tired. But right now we dropped from 1st to 5th, still well above that playoff line. Keep in mind, playoff line for this season is 9 and up. So as long as you're in that 9 spot or above, you're going to the playoffs. Again, let's focus on the positives with the strong start, coming out with 6 points. Atlanta overtook the number 1 spots after their shellacking of Charlotte 3-0. So they're at the top with 7 points. They're actually kind of tied, if you will. Split by one of the tertiary categories with Nashville, and Cincinnati coming up with their win against Seattle is also holding with 7 points, 2 goals less on the goal differentiator. So Atlanta number 1, Nashville number 2, Cincinnati number 3. New England is above us right now. So I'm honestly kind of hoping they lose tonight, even though I would love to see the East come out and bang. But I'm looking at standings right now. We're in 5th right now with 6. New England is we would have been tied with New England, but unfortunately, with that own goal by Chris McVeigh, it dropped our goal differential from 4 to 3. So we're technically behind them. In 6th is Philadelphia, also 6 points. 2 goal differential. That's why. And then rounding out is Orlando in 7, DC in 8, and Columbus in 9.
Boo.
Boo these men.
Boo those men. Boo. No, I mean, first off, shout out St. Louis. Yeah, the city's buzzing. They're moving, not only for St. Louis in terms of soccer sense, but they have football back. I don't know if you caught any of the XFL. I did.
I watched a little bit, yep.
They got football back in both sense, so good for them.
So second, let's while we're on this topic, right? We'll just do this. We'll cut it out from the noteworthy news. Second expansion team to win their first 3 games. It's them and Seattle. If they win this next game, they will be the first expansion team to win all 4 of their first games. Their opponent next week is going to be San Jose. And that's actually at 8:30. So that's a fairly winnable game, I'd say. They still are expansion team, but, Obobase is starting off strong this season, so we will see. But that is definitely something to keep your eye on. I mentioned earlier, I'm so happy to see an expansion team start so well. I'm also, at the same time, kind of pained to see an expansion team start so well, because it just brings back flashbacks of our kind of failure to launch in seasons 1 and 2.
Listen, I'm happy for them, but I'm also glad that we're not Charlotte right now. So
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get. But hey, keep it on the topic of St. Louis. Let's talk about the Supporters Shield rankings. So number 1, as we alluded to, is St. Louis in 9th. Then you have 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They have Atlanta, Nashville, Cincy, all tied with 7 points, and goal differential splitting them all. Number 5 is Seattle Sounders with 6, as well as New England. And then our beloved Herons are also in the group tied with 6. They sit in 7th, with New England just above them in 6th. Rounding out the top 10, we have the Philadelphia Union at 6, below us on goal differential. Austin on 6 at 9th, below us on goal differential. And San Jose with 6, below us on goal differential. So obviously only been 3 games, but it is tight.
It is indeed. And we'll see what happens with the, I'm kind of done with ESPN Power Rankings. We'll see what happens to Inter Miami in match day 3 power rankings from MLS. I would hope they don't drop us too far with a mistake like that. But, I got to give you credit where credit's due, buddy, because we were talking about the WAC ESPN, I think, what was it, 11th or something? And we were saying, I said 7. I said we should be around 7. You said 5. I said, anywhere in that 5 to 7 range sounds right. Came out. Inter Miami was number 5. So shout out to the ever so intelligent. Always has his finger on the button. I don't know. Nose on the trail. I don't know. Something clever. Always on top of it, bud. Congratulations. You're so smart.
Listen, I appreciate that you're giving me so much praise while the microphone is on, because the abuse I get while the microphone is off is horrendous. But
That's all lies.
you know what? I'm keeping the tears down inside. I'm just gonna move this pain train forward. We are talking about next opponent. We are playing Toronto at BMO Field, 7:30 p.m. Not familiar with Toronto? Don't worry, I got your back. Toronto plays in Toronto in Canada. So there's that. They were founded in 2005, 17 years ago, as part of the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Network, which also runs such teams as the Maple Leafs, the Raptors, the Toronto Argonauts, and Toronto FC2.
The Argonauts. That's their
the Argonauts.
CFL team, right?
Yeah, and that is one of the best CFL teams out there. Got to take in the game when I was younger. Pretty darn cool.
What's their nickname?
Definitely
like the
confusing.
Argos, or are they the Naughties?
Argos.
Should be
The
Naughties.
Argos. Nah, that sounds too promiscuous, I think. Toronto has been a mainstay in the MLS since 2015. In 2017, they won the domestic treble, which was the MLS Cup, the Supporters Shield, and the Canadian Championship, making them the first and only MLS club to ever do that. They have been 8-time winners of the Canadian Championship and were runners-up for the 2018 CONCACAF Champions League and the MLS Cup in 2016-2019. Fun fact, they are the 6th most valuable club in the MLS with an estimated value of $690 million. So, hey, $690 million will get you such players as Insigne Bernardeschi, Ayo Akinola, Michael Bradley, nepotism, Jonathan Osorio, and our boy, Sean Johnson. Listen, if they're going to shout nepotism on our boy, we're going to shout it right back.
Did you mention Insigne as well?
I did,
They
right at the beginning. I said Insigne.
In Bernardeschi. Okay.
I wasn't sure. As I was doing
Yeah,
the
again,
Italian
we're in
hands.
audio format, so they can't see the Italian hands that we're throwing to each other right now. Yeah.
Correct.
They like the
Italian
bruschetta.
Aha, the mozzarella.
Okay, I don't want to get in trouble for misaligning
Yeah, okay.
anyone.
done.
But yeah, pretty stacked. Yeah, and I'm very interested to see how Sean Johnson does with them. Obviously, stud keeper. Mark Anthony Kay, they got him as well. Richie Larea, so they got a pretty decent roster over here. So here's the good news, bud. It's a new game. It's a new slate. It's a new day, and it's the MLS. Anything can happen on any given Saturday at 7:30, unless you're one of the teams that gets like an 8:30 game. Here's the bad news. It's not going to be any warmer in Toronto. It'll probably be colder than it was. I don't know. I would imagine probably a couple degrees colder, but it's also getting closer. We'll be a week closer to the summer. You got a forecast for me?
34 degrees on Saturday with a low of 26.
Woo.
So, yeah. At the time of kickoff, we are looking at roughly 29 degrees. So, now it's a few days out. You know how I was fretting over the possibility of a snow, rain, ice, blizzard in New York, which never came about, so we never know. But no, it will not be like the warm confines of home.
Do you recall what the temperature was for the New York game?
34.
Okay,
walked in.
So
no,
wind chill
35. Yeah.
So just a little colder, but that wind chill might be pretty substantial there. So, you know what? Let's. What do you got for prediction wise?
Well, I don't know. After this last game, it's hard to see unless Campana comes back that we're going to have much of a threat. I will say, though, that the floodgates have been opened on Toronto. They gave up 3 to DC. Mm-hmm. They gave up 1 to Atlanta, and they gave up 1 to Columbus.
1 win, 2 draws. What are you taking from that?
1 loss, 2 draws.
Sorry, yes, 1 loss, 2 draws.
DC.
I can't read.
Yes, we know, and we still love you. I am going to say, I'm going to go with the star power they have and the way our defense is kind of especially with Gregory. I shouldn't even say our defense is That's not fair. I'm just going based off of what I saw yesterday. Our defense has been okay. I'm going to go 2-1, and I'm going to give it to Toronto. I'm going to say that the talent of Insigne and Bernadeschi show up, and they prove why they were powers in Europe.
Yeah, man, I really want a strong rebound here, but you know, it is an Apple TV free game. I'd like to note. So if you haven't purchased MLS Season Pass, you should be able to still view this one as free. I really hope we bounce back, but I think it's gonna be a 1-1 draw. I think we can get a goal. I still think we'll have our struggles being in the cold. Good news is regular size pitch, not a micro pitch. So we'll see what happens. And you know, this is all key. We're expecting Campana back fairly soon. So potentially maybe this game as well. Don't hold me to it. I'm a fake sports journalist anyway, right? So I'll go 1-1 draw with it. And yeah, hope for the best. We'll see what happens. And you know, this kind of starts the little old 2-game away streak for us, and we get to come back home against Chicago, which I'm going to go to my guy on the east side of the stadium. My man, look across the street. There's a little hot dog shack. My man's got those Chicago hot dogs. They're pretty damn good. Shout out that guy. Forgot his name. Go get you a good hot dog on that game. Anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's just try and come through this game. What kind of shocking, impressive, noteworthy headlines did you see from MLS Match Day 3?
Well, as we alluded to, St. Louis became the first team in league history to start the season with 3 consecutive come-from-behind wins, not just regular wins. 3 consecutive come-from-behind wins.
It's the best way.
They are the first.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, nothing? Okay,
No,
good.
It's not appropriate.
Keep it classy, Mr. Kington. The first expansion side to win 2 of their first 3 MLS games on the road, and they have tied the 2009 Seattle Sounders by starting their inaugural season 3-0-0. So shout out to St. Louis. They are rolling. we had Seattle, talking about Seattle, losing to Cincinnati. What was your takes on that game, Jay?
I didn't get to watch as much of it really at all because of the the Inter Miami game. I did see. I think it was like 9 minutes added time or something crazy. Seattle did draw level. At least they thought they did, but the goal was called back. So, that's the kind of the good news and the bad news. Like if you're neutral, just like into the sport, don't really have a team per se, and watch that wraparound show they do, that's great. But the one downfall of doing that is having all these games at 7:30 is it's really, really tough to have the fortitude to turn off Inter Miami. Unless like we'd lose like 3-0 and we're down 3-0 in like the first half. You're just like, whatever, let me check out some of the other games. So we're probably not gonna be able to watch as much as we want. But other notable news, the Austin midfielder Owen Wolff, son of the coach, Wolfie, American football legend. They are part of the 8th father-son duo to score in the MLS. Also notably joined Damien Lowe and Anandi Lowe and Roy and Ari Lassiter, also on the father-son duo to score list.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's one of those things you don't get to see too often. It's definitely good to bring up. Something we don't like to bring up because we don't like to see the MLS lose one of their star players, but Andre Blake went down with a groin injury against Chicago. Definitely is going to hurt them. They would definitely rely on him. Backline is going to have to step up in his stead. But hey, it's one of those things that next man up, right?
Next man up. Hopefully he is a stud like Mr. Andre Blake. And then, shout out Atlanta and Charlotte and their joint moment of remembrance for Anton Walkes, the Charlotte player who lost his life. You love to see stuff like that. It's heartwarming. And, props to Atlanta for coordinating that with Charlotte. I thought it was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it, at the end of the day, life's much bigger than a game, and we hated to see it. We have ties with Anton through Lewis Morgan's agent. We reached out to him, wishing condolence because he was a Bestwick sports athlete. It's one of those things that it was shocking for the whole league, and definitely classy move by both teams, and hopefully it'll help start the road for healing to some people who are definitely still greatly affected by it.
I agree. Really, only other notable news, and we're not really going to even jump into it now. We're going to jump into it more likely just in a few weeks, give it a proper deep dive. But the Nations League bracket did come out, so you can see the groups, the brackets, who the winners would play. So we can imagine, if Miami comes out, who they're going to play. So keep it on that. We will do more of a deep dive. What else you got, buddy?
Dude, how could you forget the penultimate news of the week? Drive Pink Stadium has new benches. They got new benches.
Yes. And
that was our big news of the week.
And let's not forget, shout out to the boys from Bavaria. Shout out to Bayern Munich for just destroying PSG in the Champions League. Let's get messy. It's time to get messy. I didn't want him to linger any longer. Let's make that decision messy. Come on over. Let's have a hell of a season. That's going to be some fun / annoying as we hear it nonstop, like 18 times in a row. These rumors spin up, but now it's going to get pretty interesting over the next few months, and you'll be hearing about it week in and week out. And this journalist says he's coming. This one says he's never coming. He's going back to Barca. It's so much fun these times of the year. So please don't add us. Just Google it. All right. we'll let you know when we know. But that's all I got. You got anything else, buddy?
I'm going to be honest. I'm more excited about these beautiful Italian chairs that are coming over to grace our touch lines rather than the Argentinian, maybe not, who will probably end up at Rangers. That's where he'll end up going. It'll be like Rangers. Rangers or Celtic.
Premier League, baby. Let's go.
Or for our boy, he'll end up at St. Pauli.
Yeah. Or Hart.
Or Ooh.
There's
That.
Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. As always, shout out to La Familia, the fans, the community, man. It's all about you guys. We love you. Check us out on Twitter at InterMIA Podcast and on Instagram at InterMiami Podcast. Check out the other shows, Away Days and IMCF Traveler Chats, full swing, everything. 4th show coming your way soon as well. Again, we hope you enjoyed the interview with Bryce Duke. Check out our Discord if you want to be in the most bumping soccer environment, community, chat, whatever you even describe Discord as, massive chat room, basically. All things Inter Miami, footy, life, food, travel. Some crazy people on a politics channel sometimes. It's good times, man. It's really good times. And as always, every single episode, Vamos Miami.